Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sandra Lynch podcast. Today, we're going to talk about Interludes 12, 13, and 14 of Words of Radiance, Book 2 of the Stormlight Archive. In these chapters, we meet an Ardent and see kind of what's going on back in Kholinar a little bit, and then we see what's going on with Eshonai, and everything is coming up roses there, obviously. And then we find out maybe more than we've ever known about King Taravangian. So some definite interesting stuff in that third one, if not in all three there. So I'm Data, and with me this week is
Jack, Joe,
and Jamie.
We all made it this time. It's exciting, you
Yay.
guys. So let's get into these chapters. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sandra Lynch is about to begin. So yeah, exciting to have all four of us back again. Dak was saying last week you guys might have to switch on one week, one on the next, and so then we get everybody at least for 1 week. That's cool.
Yeah, we're just going to sort of take it as it comes. You know, we're not outnumbered, but we're definitely both hands-on parenting during our podcast. So we'll see how we go. But fingers crossed, we should be right most of the time.
Woo, exciting.
She says. Well,
yeah, famous last words. But we did 3 chapters this week, guys. What did you think of these 3 interludes?
That first one was very confusing, but it was good. I liked it. There's obviously some bad stuff going on in Kholinar. Elhokar's wife sounds kind of crazy, so we didn't really get a perspective that gives us a ton of insight on what's going on there. But it clearly isn't good. I feel bad for that Ardent lady because sounds like things are not going well for her. Also, yeah, and to know that, you know, Elhokar is one thing, right? But to know that, like, his wife surrounds herself with sycophants, maybe it makes sense that Yasna was trying to have her killed at the beginning of the book. You know, maybe there's some reasoning behind that sounds that is sound. The Eshonai section, not long enough, but, you know, take what we can get at this point, right? But bad things are happening. They've definitely kind of guessed or surmised that Dalinar is going to try to take the fight to them, so they are obviously ready for that. So that's not a great situation for really anybody at this point, because the Parshendi, you know, they're kind of in a bad position. Also, the little pieces where Eshonai was talking about, have they been in this form before? That is worrying as well. Because it's like, well, what, when, how, all that stuff. They know more than they're letting on. And then, the Taravangian stuff. Really, really interesting how he is affected by his boon/curse. And the fact that he was so intelligent that he could basically predict the future by knowing all of these factors. Very strange. I don't really understand exactly how that would even work. Of course, we also don't know how long ago this was, so maybe all the pieces were in play at the time that he was super, super smart. But it's also strange because he's an old guy, so if it was a way long time ago, it's like, how would he know some of these people would even be born?
Yeah.
So, I don't quite get all that. We get some names that I wasn't familiar with. Maybe maybe they're the first time we're seeing them, maybe not, but there were definitely some names of some possible characters or entities, beings in that section that I'm wanting some more clarification on. And so we talk about that when we get there. But yeah, definitely a lot of really, really interesting stuff. Seth shows up, runs off after kind of a poor explanation of the events. But anyway, I'm just looking forward to getting into the next part. So
it's funny, for some reason the first thing that popped in my head when you're like, there were some names that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to recognize or whatever. My first thought was like, Gavilar? It's like, who's this Gavilar guy that he mentions?
No, we know. Yeah, it was Molkin, and there was another one, I feel like.
We shall get there, and you can point them out as we go. Also, I have to say, I was wondering if anyone was going to remember that, because it's been so long since we read the beginning of this book, that Yasna was like planning to have the queen assassinated at the beginning of the book, and then was like, you know what, let's do the less extreme version, and I'm gonna have you be a spy in her retinue, basically. Which what happened to that person?
I was really hoping that was coming up here.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when I talk, but yes, that I remembered.
I'm glad you guys are remembering so much of this. It's a big help. It's been so long since we started this book. At this point, this is our 27th week of recording, plus obviously, when weeks that we did not record. So it's been a long road. Anyway.
All right, Star Trek Enterprise watcher.
I finished Enterprise. I started Discovery now.
So fun interludes. Yeah, seeing Kolinahr going downhill was interesting. So we're really out of the loop on that, because I think this is the first time we've actually been inside Kolinahr since Wit's epilogue. Yeah, was that in Kolinahr?
I would say, yeah, that was just like at the gates of Kolinahr. So unless you count the flashback at the beginning of the book, I think you're right. This is the first time.
Yeah, and I think Kaladin swooping like his dreams, swooping over everything and seeing everything, saw a bit of it. But yeah, it's like interesting to finally just see into this place, considering this, this is meant to be the capital. This is meant to be where everything's going down, but all the major players have left, and it's just left to Queen Decadence over here. And the Ardents, who have been only too happy just to allow her to do that. So this is one of those, I feel like the interesting bit happened right at the end. So it's nice to see how he got to it, but like, I need to know more. I need to know everything that's going down in Kolinahr. And as been pointed out, it's like, all right, maybe Jasnah had a point in trying to remove this queen from the picture. But we still don't need more information. The Eshonai one, again, just frankly depressing, always is. Really concerned by Venli. I guess we're supposed to be at this point. But that was also just a really short one. And yeah, the Taravangian stuff. The punishment of his boon blows my mind. Like, some days he's a frothing at the mouth lunatic. Other times he's like the smartest man on the planet. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around that, and how does his memory work when he's on a low intelligence state? Does he remember everything, or I don't know? I have so many questions about how that works. I was really hoping that Seth's confrontation would be angrier. Unfortunately, Taravangian still lives, so we were kind of pulling last time. It's like, oh, maybe Seth will get him, and it didn't happen, sadly. I did think it was interesting, he knows that Jasnah is a full-on Radiant, because he was thrown for a loop when he realizes Seth is not talking about Jasnah, he's talking about someone else. Like, oh, hang on a minute, there's another one? Shit.
And he agrees with you guys that he doesn't think Jasnah's dead either. Yeah.
So we've got the occasionally smartest man on the planet agreeing with us. I think that gives us some credence.
Maybe a good sign, sure.
The sometimes smart guy. But yeah, so just a lot to take in there. His red string theory on the wall, the diagram, was that what it's called?
The diagram, yeah. Sorry, it took me. I was like, wait, what are we talking about? Yes, the diagram.
Yeah. Hey, I wonder if we'll ever actually get a good look at this thing. Not that it will ever actually probably make sense to us, because no one can make sense of it until he translates it. But still, it'd be nice to see it.
Apparently, there's pages and pages of it, so it's like its own book practically.
Yeah. What's a bigger book? His Death Rattles book, or his interpretation of the diagram? Who knows?
Well, and we even get in here an explanation for why they're so dedicated to trying to get these death rattles. So just all sorts of information popping up.
Something about that is meant to save the world. I'm like, okay, but so Taravangian is trying to save the world, and I was like, is he just misguided? Is he trying to save it for a specific purpose that we don't know? Is he trying to serve it up to Odium, or is he trying to I don't know. I've got no idea. It was hard enough to probe his motives before we found out he was occasionally the smartest and occasionally the dumbest guy.
Yeah. It just, in some ways, it does just make it a lot more complicated, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fair. It didn't even occur to me until you mentioned it that we haven't spent any time in Kolinahr really, present day in particular. So it seems like something we should do at some point, especially now that we know shit has kicked off there and things are not going well.
Well, I guess if it's just been years upon years under hedonism bot, then
yeah,
then
not good,
it's
right?
like what information can you really get? You got to wait for something to change, which it finally has. So
Jambi lost it and will no longer slather her with chocolate. And
yep. Yep. Unfortunate.
But it also makes you wonder, like, if Yasna had gone ahead and had this woman assassinated, like, who is in charge of Kholinar at this point? Like, was someone like, well, Dalinar, you got to stay behind and be in charge here? That would have been a very different story.
Well, I get, part of me wonders, like, would they have left Elhokar behind? Because
maybe.
Because, like, you want Dalinar as an experienced war leader down where they're waging war.
Or maybe Navani is like the king's mom. If he didn't have a wife, maybe she takes that.
Oh, hang on, wasn't she there and she only showed up the Shattered Plains during the Way of Kings?
Yep. Yeah, she was on the Shattered Plains, and then before the Way of Kings started, she went back to Kholinar to, like, help out the queen, and then she came back and was like, yeah, they won't let me be involved in anything there, basically. So, yep.
Concerning.
Indeed. We know in this family, we know Yasna and Navani both at least sort of well at this point, and so you're like, man, you could have left one of them in charge. We don't know anything about Aesudan except what we've now heard from the Ardent in this chapter. So it's like, this person may not have been a good choice.
No, but, like, the wife of the king, like the queen, probably is like, better judgment doesn't really enter into it.
Yeah, fair point. I guess except for the judgment in marrying her in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with everything that's been said on these chapters. I'm glad you brought up Yasna and her wanting to assassinate Elhokar's wife originally, because I thought that was happening and I was so excited. And I was like, oh, yes, this is the assassin. And then I went, maybe it's not the assassin. Maybe it's Yasna. Maybe this is her comeback. Maybe she's disguised herself as an Ardent somehow and is working her way up. And I was like, I am here for it. She's going to come back and be like, bitch, it's me, and this is going to be great. And it didn't. But we still got a lot of interesting things happening in there, which was cool and terrifying. And yeah, Elhokar's wife, I struggle with Elhokar being okay with all of that happening. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. I feel like that's just not Elhokar at all. This is definitely his wife being her own person, which is just terrifying. I don't really rate her as an individual, but, I don't think we've actually met her on page properly yet. So I will reserve my judgments for when we actually meet her on page. Perhaps she's a secret bad guy for future books. We'll see how we go. The Eshonai chapter, yeah, that's looking a little bit terrifying, and it's changed Eshonai being in this new form. Has it changed everyone else as well, or is she just seeing that they seem really comfortable with it? Because if they're all really comfortable with it and she's never held before, this is scary. Yeah, her sister, something's going on there, and that's creeping me out a little bit, but we'll see what comes of that. And then what's going to be different about the High Storm as well. So obviously we're getting to that point in the book that things are going to start happening now. It definitely feels like things are starting to happening at the end of the interludes. Taravangian's perspective, yeah, I found myself sort of at some points feeling for him. Like, there are certain things about what he feels and what he experiences that are out of his control, and like that he wishes that there's pros and cons to whichever mindset he's in, right? So to be, of average intellect one day, but he's emotional and he's feeling, and he's like, I don't want to do these. He thinks he's doing these things for the right reasons, which, like, is terrifying, because, some of the most horrific people in history are doing things for what they believe is the right reason.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not cold about it. He's not like, well, it has to be done. Like, he is feeling, and I was like, oh, like, I feel kind of bad for him for how he's feeling himself, if that makes sense. But, like, at the same time, not bad enough to be like, you don't deserve what's coming to you because you are a horrific human. But it's definitely more complexity to Taravangian than I had thought. Also, I don't know if I'd completely missed that he and Gavilar were, I guess, close enough to talk about Gavilar's visions. Yeah, I feel like that was sort of newer information to me, but unless I guess it's not probably something he would bring up in conversation with anyone. Hey, Yaza, yeah, I used to share conversations with your dad about the visions he was having before he died. So yeah, it's probably not something that we had reason to know about, I guess. But when Seth was there, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. And it didn't. But I was like, oh, Seth has got to have a moment there because he's pissed off, and I guess he needs more information before he acts. And now Taravangian's in a spin. Everyone's a little bit off kilter now. So when things start happening, it's going to be fun, I think.
You're right that we definitely didn't know that Gavilar and Taravangian, I don't think we even knew that they'd spoken. We had at some point, I think it was Dak or somebody was like, I wonder if like Gavilar and Taravangian ever met. That might have been interesting. And so, but it's almost overshadowed by the fact that this is almost certain this is also the first time we've heard anything about Gavilar having visions. So like that's news.
Yeah, okay. For some reason I thought we knew that already, but maybe not. No, maybe it was just the way he was all spouting the Way of Kings and.
Yeah, I think we kind of assumed it because he Gavilar was obsessed with the Way of Kings and spouting a whole lot of things. And then after he died, Dalinar started spouting the same sort of things, and he was having visions at the time, so we just kind of assumed.
Yeah, it was an assumption rather than a fact.
Also, I have to say, if Yasna does ever show back up, I really hope her first line is, "Bitch, it's me." That would be great. I love Jamie's take on this.
It seems very Yasna.
Like, Yasna.
She pops out of like a portal from the cognitive realm and just socks Sadeas in the face as she yells it.
Fair, right?
I'd be here for that. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm okay with this being the result. Portal opens up and everyone's like, "What the?" It's like a Doctor Strange portal, and everyone's like, "What the hell is that?" And then just she comes flying out and punches somebody in the face. Very, very Kelsier punching God in the face. Yeah.
Yasna's been through some shit.
Yeah, I mean, if she really is alive out there somewhere, then she's been gone a while at this point. She must be doing something.
Well, it's been less than a book at this point. It's just because it's taken so long to get here.
That's true, but I mean, yeah, Shallan was traveling across the plains for a decent amount of time, I feel like.
True.
Or not across the plains, but to the Shattered Plains, I should say. I guess it's been... What did the countdown start at? Way back when? The countdown, was it 45 days or 60-something days? I forget.
It was 62, I want to say. 63?
Something like that, yeah.
So I feel like that started probably around the same time as we lost Yasna, so maybe that's how long it's been, more or less.
Oh, the countdown is till Yasna comes back.
That's what it is. It's the countdown to the return of Yasna to punch Sadeas in the face. Yep, there you go. Love it.
Which makes her opening line way cooler when you had a 60-day countdown.
It's like so dramatic. That might actually fall a little bit flat for y'all since you've been expecting her to show back up. So if it turns out the countdown is to a thing you already thought was going to happen, maybe that wouldn't be as cool.
Yeah, that wouldn't. Or maybe it would.
I mean, if she shows up riding a chasm fiend and punches Sadeas in the face coming out of a magic portal, maybe that may still be pretty cool. Okay, let's do these chapters, y'all. We have Interlude 12 is called Lan, after Brother Lan, the perspective character here. And Brother Lan is an Ardent who works for the Queen in Kholinar, and he is introducing a new young female Ardent to her job. And he says, "Congratulations, you found your way to the easiest job in the world." And this girl's looking at him. She had obviously not expected her new mentor to be rotund, slightly drunk, and yawning. I love that he's like already kind of a little bit drunk. It's a good start.
It's the weekend.
"You are the senior Ardent I've been assigned to?" And he goes, "To whom I've been assigned. You're going to have to learn to speak punctiliously." Yeah, he's got standards, I guess. There you go.
Is that a real word?
Yeah, punctilious.
Let me look it up here.
Yeah, now we're going to dictionary this.
Punctilious.
It means showing great attention to detail or correct behavior.
Okay, well, there you go.
You get the feeling Brandon has one of those word-a-day calendars.
Yeah.
Maladroit, punctilious. Yeah, it's all in there.
Yeah, he's just a verbose dude.
Zoe's terse. I can be terse. Once in flight school, I was laconic. Oh, wash. So she's been assigned to the Queen's own retinue. It's a marvelous privilege. One I understand you have requested with some measure of persistence. And it's interesting. They pass through the Circle of Memories, which is a room that gets a lot of description. 10 lamps, one for each of the ancient kingdoms, an 11th lamp for the Tranquiline Halls, a large ceremonial keyhole to represent the need for Ardents to ignore borders. I don't know how the keyhole means to ignore borders, but whatever. And then they go into more places to get less specific descriptions, but still kind of interesting. Kholinar sounds, or at least this palace sounds very like, I almost said lascivious. That's not the word I'm looking for. Although maybe.
Do you have a word-a-day calendar?
Yeah, maybe. I should get one of those.
Lugubrious?
No.
Your
lavish.
lugubriousness?
I was looking for the word lavish.
Laxative. Oh, wait.
Lugubriousness, the quality of being sad, serious, and excessively mournful. Well, I would say that does fit Hades.
Okay.
It's lugubriousness is from the Hercules the animated movie.
I mean, it's also just a word. Like, I don't.
Yeah, but that's the only place I've heard it.
Let's see. We find out a little bit about the city of Kolnar. It has these big rock formations called wind blades, which I think we've heard referenced before, but they're curving spines of rock that cut through the city. I want to see if I can find like a good picture of Kolnar, because it's hard for me to picture like the wind blades.
Find a good picture so you can picture it.
Exactly. Yeah. There you see. No, I don't love any of these necessarily. Oh, here's from the Cosmere role-playing game. All right. That's as close to canon as we're probably going to get on this. Paste. There's what Kolnar looks like with a high storm coming, it looks like.
Neat.
Yeah.
That high storm looks fucked.
High storms are scary. What can I say?
Waiting for like storm, like Rosharan storm chasers to like go after this thing.
It's with some of those vans and stuff. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Do some research.
You guys see Twisters last year? They launched fireworks into a tornado.
I didn't see the movie, but I did see, like in the trailers, I feel like that was in there.
Yeah. Like just a bit of fun. It was all right.
Motion's out at the city. Everybody has to work here. Bread to bake, lands to oversee, cobblestones to cobble? No, that's shoes. What do you call people who cobble but don't actually cobble? She's like, yeah, I don't know. All right, well, it doesn't matter. I don't know, what do you call somebody who makes cobblestones? It's just like a mason?
Yeah, I assume that's like a mason or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have only one job, to serve the queen. And she goes, that's not easy. He's like, it is, as long as we're all serving the same way, in a very careful way. She's like, yeah, you want us to be sycophants. The queen's ardents only tell her what she wants to hear. He's like, okay, here we go. We're getting to it. You can't even remember her name. He's like, what's her name? They told him. Pie. Right. Pie. You see, Pie, this is what your superiors wanted me to talk to you about. They're worried you might cause a bit of a storm here, and nobody wants that. The queen sometimes worries that the Almighty isn't pleased with her. She figures if she treats her ardents well, it will buy her favor with the one who makes the storms, so to speak. Nice food, nice robes, fantastic quarters, lots of free time to do whatever we want, as long as she thinks she's on the right path. And Pie's like, well, we're supposed to tell her the truth. And he's like, yeah, we do tell her the truth. She's the Almighty's chosen, right? Wife of Queen Elokar. Her life is hard. And now we get into the meat of it, where Pie's like, she throws lavish feasts every night and engages in debauchery and excess. She wastes money while Alethkar languishes. People in the outer town starve as they send food here, with the understanding that it will be passed on to soldiers who need it, but it rots because the queen can't be bothered. And Lan's like, it's fine. They have lots of food on the Shattered Plains. They don't need our food. You're exaggerating. Life is good. She's even gotten rid of the beggars' feasts. It's reprehensible. I don't know if you guys remember that. We're introduced to that like all the way at the beginning of the first book, where when they have a feast in the palace, they have a feast for the beggars out in the courtyard also. Not anymore, I guess. And then we get a very detailed description of the floor in the Eastern Hall, which actually sounds very cool. It's like gold beneath soul-cast ribbons of crystal. But Pie does not care, and Lan is kind of outraged at this. So he's like, here, come on, let me show you something. He takes her down to the kitchen where all this amazing food is being made. And Pie's like, trying to lure me with exotic foods? No. For the past 5 years, I've eaten only a bowl of boiled talu for each meal, with a piece of fruit for special occasions. He's like, you're not serious, are you? What is wrong with you?
I was expecting it to repeat. I only ate boiled talu for 5 years. That's what's wrong with me.
Well, but no, she's from the devotary of denial. I wish to experience separation from my physical needs and he's like, yeah, whatever. This is worse than I thought.
It's all making sense now. Denial.
And he takes her out to like the back door, and there's just piles of food, like uneaten food, just rotting. And she's like, wait, so you're showing me this to convince me not to kick up a fuss? Like, this is the opposite of that. He's like, yeah, well, you see, there used to be an Ardent who distributed all this food to the poor, but she died a few years back, and we don't really care enough to have done it since then. So eventually somebody takes it all away and dumps it out in the square, but by then most of it's rotten. So
this could be your task. Don't you want to do it?
He's like, think of all the good you could do with this. Or you could do the opposite. You could start a big fuss And then, what might happen to the person who did that? And she goes, are you threatening me? I do not fear physical harm. He's like, what? No, what is wrong with you? I have someone else put on my slippers in the morning. Don't be stupid. Nobody's going to hurt you. You'll just get sent away somewhere.
I can't hurt you. I am spongy and weak.
Yeah. The flesh is spongy and bruised.
These are for show, these muscles you see. She's like, what muscles?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Ouch.
And so he's like, look, you can do one of two things. You can get sent away and do no good for anybody, or you can stay here and help some people and maybe just be a good example for the rest of us. Make us mend our rotten ways, right? Anyway, think about that for a while. I'm going to go finish my bread. And then she just sits out there staring at the garbage. Well, he watches her for a while, gets bored, goes to have his afternoon massage, and comes back, and she's still out there.
Yeah. She really knew how to stand there in front of garbage all day.
Yeah.
I would not have waited that long.
Right? No. And so and I like the point that she makes. That's like this is not even just the queen. Even before that, like King Gavilar would go out on hunts and have wars, and all these riches supposedly coming in from the glorious battle that never materialize here and never help anybody. So it turns out that the Light Eyes, they don't give a crap about people. Who knew?
Yeah.
And she eventually says, you know what? I've decided you're right. I'm not going to leave Kholinar. I'm going to stay here and do what good I can do. He's like, you're not going to get the other Ardents in trouble? He's like, no. My problem's not with them. I'll just be a good example for the others to follow. And he's like, oh, well, that's good then. But as he walks away, he's like, something doesn't seem right there. Should I be worried? I don't know. Being worried sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, and I don't like you. Everybody knows I don't like work. I'm the guy they go to when they're like, hey, how can we not work?
Right. And it turns out he should have been worried. The next day he goes, there's a crowd of people standing around looking on as Pi has written in giant letters on the floor and glyphs. Apparently she spent all night writing right in front of the king's common throne, where he goes to sit and talk to the common people. The glyphs listed the 10 foolish attributes as represented by the 10 fools, and beside each glyph was a written paragraph explaining how the queen exemplified each of these fools. This didn't just chastise, it was condemnation of the entire government, the Light Eyes, and the throne itself. And the last 2 sentences of the chapter, Pi was executed the very next morning. The riot started that evening. So, yeah, shit hit the fan. Executing Ardents probably is not something that happens all that often. Although it makes me wonder, who started these riots? Did the people all find out about this? And was she already popular with the people of the city? I don't know. It's hard to. But we probably won't be seeing her again. Unless she's also faking her death like Yasna.
I was about to say. I mean, she says she was executed, so I wouldn't think we'd see her again.
She's hanging out with Yasna, wherever Yasna is. The next one is a part to play, the Eshonai. And this one is the shortest one by a good measure, I would say here. We see Eshonai, who still has that voice screaming deep down inside her somewhere. She has to keep it shut up by keeping herself busy. And all of her people have taken on this storm form, and they're practicing for fighting the Alethi. And they've gotten the agent who has one of their undercover agents or whatever has sent them a report. It seems the Blackthorn is coming out, going to try to hunt us down. And Venli is worried, and Eshonai says, no, this is perfect. We're going to wait till the humans get close, and then we're going to sing our whatever and make a high storm. And Venli's like, well, we should make the high storm now. Why not do it tonight? And she's like, no. Eshonai's like, no. It has to be like an unexpected thing right when they're out here, because if we make it now, then they're not going to come. And Venli's like, oh, okay then. And Eshonai's like, well, you read way too easy. What is it that you know that you're not telling me? Like, oh, no, I'm simply persuaded. We must wait. The storm will blow the wrong way after all. Or is it that all other storms have blown the wrong way, and this will be the first to blow the right way? It's getting a little deep, but a little philosophical. And Eshonai's like, wait, how do you know the storm will blow the other way? Oh, the songs. And Eshonai's like, the songs don't say anything about what? And as Venli walks away to hang out with her other scholars, Eshonai's thinking they seem real comfortable in this new form, but they couldn't have held it before, could they? And I like the ending. She'd always hated being a general. How ironic, then, that she would be recorded in their songs as the war leader who had finally crushed the Alethi. All the while, something still screaming in her brain somewhere. So, Yeah, it's I guess it was unlikely that the Alethi would be able to hide the fact that they're taking all of their armies out onto the plains looking for the Parshendi. So maybe it's not that big a deal that they know, but it's not great, I guess.
That's how they're going to pull a fast one.
Yeah, last time you had the theory that maybe like the Alethi are going to come out here and the Parshendi will cut around behind them and take the camps while they're gone. It doesn't sound like that's the plan.
No, but something's definitely amiss. Like I still think the Alethi might find their city and find it empty.
Could still happen, yeah. Just because they're going to wait for them to come out here before they summon this storm doesn't mean they have to be where they're expected. All right, and then our long interlude. Sorry, take me a minute to remember that word. Words are not my friend today, apparently. Taravangian woke up. He didn't feel stupid. That was a good sign. And so we get him thinking about how he's getting old. His body is like rebelling against him. It's not great. But then we start getting into the interesting stuff here. The king's testers are hanging out nearby. And when it's time for his he's got his morning meal, but Moral here, who's a Thaylen man with both his head and his eyebrows shaved, which the Thaylens always have those giant long eyebrows. So I feel like this would look strange to people in this world to have a Thaylen with no eyebrows. But Moral says, no, tests first today. This is an important day. We need to know the results. And so what it comes down to is, as we go through the chapter, we find out that at some point, Taravangian visited the Night Watcher, got one of those boon and curse thingies that we've heard so much about. And Taravangian, once again, kind of almost like what happened with Dalinar, although a little bit different, is like Taravangian isn't, like, what is the boon and what is the curse here is kind of unclear. But every day when he wakes up, he has a different level of intelligence, from super genius to like drooling idiot and anywhere in between. And so they designed these tests so that he has to take tests every morning to determine how smart is he today. And I like to note that he didn't feel stupid, but it was really only on the worst days when he was like so stupid that he immediately noticed that he was stupid.
I like though that he designed his own stupidity test.
Yeah. On one of his smarter days, he designed all the tests.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to design a stupidity test, or if you're going to have to take a stupidity test, I would want to be the one that designed my own stupidity test. Because then I can be as smart as I want.
Yeah. I don't know if, somebody brought up earlier, like, how does his memory work? Does he remember on dumb days what he had on what he knew on smarter days? Because that seems like it would come into play with these tests, right?
Right. And it sounds like he gets like, I think in the text it says like he gets echoes, but he doesn't remember what he did on his smarter days or the things he remembered when being smart. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah. And there's and like the test is also, it's not just what he knows, but how fast he can recite it as well. And it's like, well, if it takes you too long to figure this shit out, then you're still not bright. But like, I have to wonder if he ever tries to game his own system, like he writes the answers on his arm or something. It's like, tomorrow is a too important day for me to be stupid, so I'm going to need to just fudge this.
Or when you're super smart, you might be able to fake being stupider than you are.
I don't want to deal with this today. I'm going to...
Yeah, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I don't want to deal with all that. No, but that's the thing, right? It's like, how smart can he be if he doesn't write the answers on his arm?
Interesting point. Okay. Well, I mean, smart him doesn't want dumb him to be in charge of stuff, I wouldn't think. So you wouldn't want to give him the answers.
Oh my God, he can quiet Jimmy to himself.
So once he takes it, we find out that he's average today. He's like, okay, good enough. And Moral says he is fit to serve. He may not offer binding commentary on the capital D diagram, but he may interact outside of supervision. He may change government policy so long as there's a 3-day delay before the changes take effect, and may freely pass judgment in trials. So there's all of these different levels where it's like, if he's too dumb, he cannot interact outside of supervision. And it really makes you, like, you want to go back and read the Taravangian chapters in the first book, because it's like, was he having these things happen then? Like, can you spot when he's smarter or dumber? My favorite part of it is what we found out at some point, and I don't remember when it is, but it's like, he can't be in charge when he's too dumb, but he also can't be in charge when he's too smart, because that comes with a whole different set of problems.
I like that was at least recognized.
Yes, right. And I don't think we know at this point in the chapter where they are, but he's like, how is it out there? And Moral says, it's horrible, just as we wanted. And Taravangian's like, don't take pleasure in suffering, even when it is the work of our hands. And Moral's like, oh, okay, I won't do it anymore. And Taravangian says, can you really change that easily? Just turn off your emotions on a whim? And Moral's like, yeah, of course. So something's weird with this dude, I feel like. And he is a popular candidate for a fan theory. Brandon has said in answer to a question at one point that somewhere on Roshar, a person that we have seen, I'm pretty sure he said it was somebody that we've seen. There is a Khandra on Roshar somewhere, and Moral is a popular fan theory about who might secretly be a Khandra, and based largely on this discussion, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's some credence behind it too, because he doesn't have the eyebrows, right?
Yeah, he has no hair on his head or the eyebrows, so yeah. And we know that the Khandra, the hair can be tricky. Somebody asked Brandon, is Moral completely hairless, like all over his body? And Brandon's like, not all over, no. So
gross.
Okay.
Not sure it was necessary to know that.
Right? Yeah, I feel like Brandon probably was like, I don't know why you need to know these things, but okay.
I got to pull that answer out of my ass.
And so he says, let me see the diagram. And so it turns out that he feels reverence from this big leather-bound book that he's got. Maybe? Did he revere anything anymore? God was dead after all, and Vorinism was therefore a sham. But it turns out that the diagram was created by Taravangian during a 20-hour period of lucid insanity, the most brilliant he had ever been. And we find out as we go through the chapter that it's like Joe mentioned, it's like so brilliant that he could predict the future, not perfectly, but like he could see the patterns in things that were happening and elaborate from them into like predictions that are right a weird amount of the time. Oh, and here's where we get the first hint of like he can't change policy on smart days. There was that one day when he thought that he was super smart and figured that he could fix all of the city's problems with a series of very rational edicts, such as requiring people to take an intelligence test of his own devising before being allowed to breed.
That was a gag in The Simpsons, I swear.
Simpsons did it.
It was the episode where the Mensa took over and comic book guy like tried to put in place a procedure where like it's like, you know, people can only breed once every 7 years or something.
Yeah, it's like the Vulcans. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like he thinks so brilliant on one hand, so stupid on another. Is that your joke, Night Watcher? Is that the lesson I'm supposed to learn? Do you even care about lessons, or is this all just you messing with us? And he wrote the diagram in his own language that he made up on the spot because normal languages weren't specific or precise enough to convey his meaning. Fortunately, he carved a key into the top of his bedside table. And so there's
that
no
is fortunate.
Yeah,
it's
right.
also a weird place for it. He's like, wait. I'm going to be stupid tomorrow. I got to figure this out. It's like, you left me the key, but not the answers to the tests. Come on, man.
No time for that. I'm too busy scribing the answers to everything.
I mean, yeah, he only had so many hours to do it, so can't waste time. The scholars, Androtagia, his buddy, and the scholars have made notations on it, come up with theories about what the various things might mean, but they're not sure on a lot of it. And so he can't really make much sense of it today. He's not smart enough. He just has to trust that his smarter self was correct in his interpretations of his even smarter self's genius. So on smarter days, he can interpret what super smart him did better, maybe. And so he's like, okay, fine, let's get on with it. And we find out that we are in Vedinar, the capital of Yakaved, and it is fucked. Once it had been this amazing city, now it's just black. All the buildings, even the palace, is destroyed. Entire city just burned down, basically. Even the docks. There had once been grand docks here. No more. One of the factions had destroyed them in an attempt to keep out the others.
My God, they burned the water.
And we've been hearing for a while that, like, there's a civil war. There's all sorts of unrest in Yakaved. Shalon's been worried about her brothers and what might have happened to them. It turns out that, like, all of the or several of the different factions in this civil war, several of the high princes of Yakaved, converged at the same time on the capital and had like a big ass battle. Morale says, do you know that the 80s war between Emul and Tukar has lasted 6 years and hasn't produced nearly this level of desolation? Yakaved ate itself in a matter of months. And Morale says part of it is because like each high prince wanted to seize the capital, so they all came here essentially at the same time, and that contributed. But he says, here it depopulated a kingdom. And Taravangian is like, well, let's hope it didn't do that. We will need this kingdom's people. For what? Maybe they should be worried.
It's a whole lot of death rattles to collect.
Yeah, it's true. What's today's news from home? Dova reports that the number of death rattles we're finding has dropped even further. She didn't find a single one yesterday and only 2 the day before. And Taravangian goes, Moloch moves then. It is certain now. The creature must have been drawn by something westward. So Moloch and the death rattles are related in some way? Whatever that means or is.
Yeah, cool band name. Moloch and the death rattles. Yeah, so this is the guy I was talking about. Moloch.
Have we heard that name before?
I don't know.
Let's see what we can find out. Search these 2 books that we've read here. This is the first time he's mentioned in this book for sure. Let's go back to The Way of Kings. Are we supposed to know this guy? It's a good question. Oh, I spelled it wrong. That might be part of the reason. No, it doesn't look like it's mentioned in The Way of Kings either. So yeah, this is we do not already know this, whoever that is, if that makes you feel better about it. And so
no, it doesn't, but I appreciate it.
I mean, referred to as a creature, that makes me think, okay, this is some kind of giant spren. Big and powerful on like Stormfather's level.
Yeah, I think it was something that said later in this chapter that made me think, oh, okay, yeah, there's a couple of giant spren type things around. So I'm on the same page as you there, Dak.
That's scary. So Taravangian thinks, what now? If we're not getting many of these, do we stop killing people? I mean, that would be great. But
not killing people would be fantastic, but
I would like to stop with the killing.
If they could discover even one more glimmer about the future, one fact that could save hundreds of thousands, would it not be worth the lives of the few now? I guess tell her to keep going.
This is not good talk.
I mean, it says something good for him that he's just like, I feel bad about killing all these people, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying before. Like, you're like, okay, there is something in there that feels that this isn't right. But it's where you draw that line of, okay, this is necessary. It's like, okay, that's where we diverge in our opinions.
You don't feel like killing hundreds of people is necessary? Oh, jeez.
No, not for the greater good,
Mm.
Yeah. And it's telltale that he's like, yeah, every time I'm smarter, like the smarter I am, the less compassion I have. So that's a thing.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay. Maybe get there in a minute. There's a moment where he's thinking about Dova, and it's like, it was weird that we attracted the loyalty of an Ardent of all things. But the diagram and its members knew no boundaries. Dova had discovered their work on her own, and they needed to either induct her or assassinate her. So the diagram is another secret society that we have here on Roshar with a bunch of members. They know no
how many secret societies are there, man?
Yeah. And at the same time, he's had his friend Androtagia research on how, like, when can he expect another one of those super smart days? He needs it. Gotta have it. And basically, it's like a bell curve when she shows him the study that they've been able to put together. And, most of the days he's close to average. Little dumb, little smart, just right around the average. And she calls it each step to the side. You might call it like each standard deviation. She goes, you can think of this as like doubling your intelligence if you take one step to the side. And so basically for like every 10 days you have average, you have 1 day at the next smartest level. And every 10 days at that level, you have 1 day at the level beyond that, and so on and so forth. And he's like, holy crap.
Thank you, Brandon. So I appreciated the statistical analysis of Taravangian's intelligence. Loved it.
As someone who spent a lot of time studying statistics in college, I also really appreciate putting this kind of thought into it. And so he's like, holy crap, it should never have happened. Like, it's so unlikely. And she goes, no, of course it should have happened. It did happen. The chance of it happening is 1 because it already has happened. So like, it's just a weird thing about statistics. And basically, because it's like random, you could have another day like that tomorrow. But if you want to know the likelihood, if you were to live another 2,000 years, you might have 1 more day like that. Even odds, I'd say. And I like Morale's conclusion, so it was luck. And she goes, no, it was simply probability.
Yeah, so luck.
And Taravangian's like, okay,
that's
luck. Not the answer I wanted, but and she goes, yeah, when has that ever mattered? When has it ever mattered what we want? He goes, never, and it never will.
Also, she calls him Vargo. Is that his first name?
No, I believe that's a nickname. Vargo is like a nickname that she has for him.
Okay.
She says that it says that in the chapter that it was like she's the only person who still calls him that nickname.
Oh, I missed that bit. My bad. Disregard.
Does he have is Taravangian his first name or last name, or does he only have one name? I don't know. Now
He's like Bono. It's just one name.
I get thrown off because there's a character in A Song of Ice and Fire called Vargo Hote, and he's not a good dude.
There doesn't seem to be any indication that he has more name than that. Somebody's like, oh no, Vargo is his first name, but it's pretty explicit here that it's a nickname, so I don't think that's correct.
Way to be not correct, whoever that is.
Random Redditor.
Yeah.
And so they're walking through up from the beach, basically, because, as we said, there's no more docks. And it's just like fields of dead people. Although here and there, you've got tents and people wearing the burnt orange crest of Carbronth. He doesn't have a lot of soldiers. The diagram called for his nation to be unthreatening. So I love this is intentional. He according to the diagram, his nation has to be unthreatening for this to work, this plan. The diagram was not perfect, though. They caught errors now and then, or, well, not really errors, missed guesses. He'd been supremely brilliant that day, but he couldn't see the future. So basically, they'd been educated guesses, very educated, and had been right an eerie amount of the time. But the further they went from that day, and the knowledge he had on that day, the more the diagram needed tending and cultivating. That's why he wanted another day. And that's also why they keep up with the death rattles, because that's their best way to supplement what they have in the diagram. Most of the fighting had been outside the city. Once the fire began, the men had just continued fighting outside, even as the capital burned. 7 factions. The diagram had guessed 6. Would that matter? And so everywhere you look, you can spot people wearing that burnt orange, helping the dead and the wounded. Throughout the East, the color had become synonymous with healing. Because you remember, like, most of their money goes to these hospitals that are free. Anybody can come and get healed. And as they begin walking through, like, where his surgeons are treating people and stuff, the survivors, the soldiers who are still alive, they start cheering. And Adrotasha's like, I don't believe it. And Taravangian's like, I mean, the diagram said it would happen. And she's like, yeah, but I thought for sure that was an error. They know that we are the only victors this day, our healers who earn the respect of all sides. You brought them life and hope. And Taravangian's like, I brought them death. He had ordered the execution of their king along with specific high princes the diagram indicated so that he could push the other factions into a war. There's the reasoning. We never really had any idea why Taravangian was using the Oathstone the way that he was and ordering the specific deaths that he was ordering. Now we have an idea.
It's pretty sickening that all of these people are like, oh, thank you, you brought your healers and this is amazing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you're only in this position because of this guy.
Yep. He engineered the entire thing and gets cheered for it. And he stops and talks to people, asks after their health, seeing if there's anything he could do. It was important that he be seen by the people as a compassionate man. The diagram explained this in casual sterility, as if compassion was something one could measure in a cup next to a pint of blood.
You must be compassionate. This compassionate.
Exactly. This, not more, not less.
Yeah. If you're more compassionate, they'll think you're a liar. If you're less compassionate, they'll think you're a tyrant. And
here we have Adrotasha says, the thrill? They fought through the night as their capital burned. It must have been in force. Or he says to Adrotasha. And she says, I agree. It gives us a further reference point. The thrill is at least as strong here as in Alethkar, maybe stronger. Perhaps this will help pinpoint Ner'gul.
So there's another name.
Yeah.
That I'm like, what? Ner'gul.
Ner'gul. I don't know how you would even pronounce that, honestly.
Ner'gul.
You need like a Welsh accent for this.
Going for your pineal gland, Ner'gul.
But this is another one that we have not heard before as far as me searching through can account for. So
it's like Schwarzenegger's watching a soccer game and he's yelling no goal.
No goal.
It took me a second on that. Okay. Wow. Taravangian says, don't spend too long on it. I'm not sure what we would even do if we found the thing. An ancient evil spren was not something he had the resources to tackle. Not yet. I would rather know where Moloch is moving. Hopefully Moloch had no sight.
Ancient evil spren.
Yeah, that don't sound good, does it?
No.
And so at the very least, that tells us that he's telling you that Ner'gul is an ancient evil spren. Maybe Moloch is that same sort of thing, the way that he's kind of like equating the two here, and it's hard to say for sure.
Well, they say Nergal has something to do with the thrill, so
Yep.
I mean that tracks because I can't remember if it was Dalinar or Adolin, but one of them had the thrill, absolutely tore shit up on the battlefield, and then was horrified by what they'd done. So it makes sense. A giant evil spren is like, I'm going to make you as bloodlusty as possible.
I think we've definitely heard of both Dalinar and Adolin experiencing the thrill. They got talked about a few times in the first book, like that capital T, the thrill, but we never like. Yeah, it was always a weird, like, what the hell is that, basically?
I was thinking, like, more specifically, just like after he experienced it, and like then is horrified by what happened.
Yeah, I think that's more Dalinar, although I think Adolin may have also mentioned that at some point. But Dalinar, I think it happened to a couple times, that same sort of thing. Blessed with intelligence, cursed with compassion to feel pain for what he'd done. They came inversely. Why couldn't he have both at once? He didn't think other people intelligence and compassion were tied in such a way. I mean, it would be hard to know for sure, but as he's walking through talking to people, here comes a man in a cloak with looks like he's got a broken arm, and when he meets the guy's eyes, it is Seth, son Vellano. Taravangian felt a moment of sheer panic.
It's nice to know that even the smartest man ever can still be terrified by a sudden change.
Well, yeah, this is a scary one for sure.
You didn't see that coming?
The diagram didn't predict that. Yeah.
Apparently not. Yeah.
And he knows that guy's an assassin, so like to turn around and see him, that would be anybody be like, ah.
And 100% his first instinct would probably be mine also, where he reaches into his pocket and it's like, I still have the thing, right?
So, but like when Seth showed up here, it made me think, fortunate for Taravangian that Seth showed up when Taravangian's on a lucid day, and then it occurred to me you could say the same thing about when Seth popped up to Taravangian in the last book,
right?
It's like if Seth had showed up to kill Taravangian because Taravangian was on his list on a day where Taravangian was a drooling idiot, that would have been the end of Taravangian. He wouldn't have had the mental fortitude to stop Seth from coming, right?
Right. I assume that there's a plan in place. Like if it was a really bad day, that the Taravangian would have mysteriously not been around that day, and Seth wouldn't be able to find him or something. You know?
I guess.
Also, for the way they're describing it, he spends the majority of his days in an average space.
So not terrible odds. Yeah.
It's like one of those like sort of like a memento thing. Like they've got a note system. It's like, now remember, if you don't remember anything else, just remember, dude in white comes for you. Say these words.
Yeah, no, kind of important for sure.
I get. Oh, maybe that's another reason. Like they had Seth. Like Seth has to hear that Taravangian understands when he comes in to kill him, and Taravangian has to verbally confirm that. If he's too stupid to do that, Seth's like, oh, fuck, I can't kill you yet.
It's like, why won't you talk to me?
Hello, in your life here. Just poke.
Man, this guy's stone cold. I feel like I could kill him.
Pulls out the sword, like, hey, I'm gonna get you. Stares,
jabbing you with the tip of the sharp blade. Oh, do something.
Like, this guy's catatonic. I don't have to even kill him. I'm just gonna let him live.
Taravangian has to confirm that it's like his first thought is somebody like swapped out the stones and outsmarted him and ordered Seth to come and kill him. Like, no, okay, it's that's not what's happening. And then he thinks like, dude, if he wanted to kill you, you'd already be dead. Like he wants to talk, which is exactly what Seth said. He's like, hey, we need to talk. But also he can't be seen with a bald Shin guy. If rumors start going around that he's associated with the assassin in white, that changes things considerably.
Yeah, it's not good for my rep.
Stick that in a diagram and write it.
Yeah, right. That would just throw the whole thing off. And Seth's like, so we have a problem. And Adrotagia shows up. It's like, why have you failed to kill Dalinar Kholin? We know you fled. Return and do the job. And Seth just like looks at her. Like she doesn't get to order him around. She doesn't have the rock.
He's like, do I know you?
He seemed to note her with those two blank eyes of his. And Taravangian's like, damn it. He wasn't supposed to like meet her or know about her in case, things happened. The diagram hypothesized the possibility that Seth would turn on Taravangian and kill him. And Seth says Kholin has a surge binder. And he's like, oh, so he knows about Yasna. Had she faked her death as he suspected? Damnation. And he hears like the emotion in Seth's voice. He's like, this is not good. Like, this guy is not all there. He's not completely sane, which makes him extremely dangerous and also broken. You got to handle with care. Why couldn't this have happened on a day when Taravangian had more than half a wit? Like, so, well, what makes you say that? He says to stall for time while he thinks.
And then Wit pops up and he's like, did somebody say Wit?
He could, right? We have no idea where he is right now.
He's like, Taravangian, old buddy. Oh, and look, this assassin in white himself. Guys, come look. And Taravangian's like, ah, shit.
This is not good. Seth says, I fought him. He protected Colin. And Taravangian's like, oh, yeah. Wait, him? Like, yeah, an Alethi man who fed on Stormlight. He healed a blade-severed arm. He is radiant. And Taravangian's like, no. Actually, this makes sense with something I heard recently. One of the honor blades has vanished. And Seth's like, wait. One of the other 7? Yeah. I only heard hints. Your people are so secretive. But yeah, I see that it's one of the 2 that allows regrowth. Colin must have it. So there's a bunch of information being thrown at us at one time.
Wasn't that what Amaram thought Talon was talking about? Something about the honor blades?
Talon was talking about a cache of blades, and Amaram's like, it must be the honor blades.
Also, if the Shin people have them, why do they have them?
This is an excellent question. So there are, he says, the other 7. So we know apparently the Shin have 7 of them. And he says it must be
8,
one of the ones.
8 technically.
If you count Seth's.
Yeah. I mean, if the Shin have them all that are accounted for so far, they have to be giving them to the people they think are truthless for some reason.
Maybe. I mean, that would make sense with how Seth got one, right? Like,
yeah.
But why?
Because in the first book, it made it seem like he's not the only one that's like that. He's the only one that there has been in a few like generations or something. But it's like a thing among his people. So like it almost feels like the Arbiter in Halo, the Halo like franchise. It's like there's only one. There's always only one, but it's been many different people.
Yeah, it said that he had like the 2 things that he wasn't allowed to do. He's not allowed to kill himself, and he's not allowed to like give away, like let anyone take his shard blade. So that it makes it sound like those are like established rules that other people have had to follow. I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's maybe 8 total honor blades, unless there's other ones that they don't have.
I'm going to go out on a limb and assume it's Rosha. There's 10.
That would make sense, I guess, right? Yeah.
Everything is 10 here.
Everything is 10. Yeah. Well, then, like, why does he say one of the other 7? Because
maybe the other like the others.
The other 2 aren't accounted for. Yeah.
Okay. And it must be one of the 2 that allow for regrowth, capital R. So that is a power that you could get from 2 of the blades specifically, which just raises further questions, I feel like. But
I wonder if it's like how the Radiant powers, because there's 10 factions, right?
Right.
And then if you are a Radiant, that you kind of have 2 abilities, and then like you overlap with one other, so your blade lines up with your abilities or something, maybe?
Yeah, that wouldn't. Okay, because you're right. We've been told that each group has 2, and you share one of them with one other group of the 10. So you would have 2 people in that group that shared a power. So yeah, that could explain a lot, actually, if that was the case, because we know that Seth seems to have the powers of like a Windrunner.
Mm.
So
yeah, similar anyway. Tethering and lashing for sure.
If he gets that from the blade that he has, maybe there's 10 blades and each of them lets you have the powers of one of the groups. That would make sense. That would fit at least. Okay. Good theory, I think. And that's how Taravangian is getting around this problem by saying, oh, yeah, one of the honor blades got taken. That must be what happened to it. And Seth's like, well, but the guy I fought didn't summon a blade. And Taravangian's like, yeah, but he used Stormlight, right? Yeah. Then he must have an honor blade. It's the only explanation, right? Seth's like, yeah, that's the only explanation. You're right. I'll kill him and get it back. Taravangian's like, no. You kill down a Colin. Don't mess with the other guy. Attack when he's not around. And Seth's like, but what, do I have your Oathstone? Is my word to be questioned? It's just like, no, I am truthless. I do as my master requires. I do not ask for explanation. Okay.
Yeah. What do I call it, Seth? Sex.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, so go. Stay away from that guy. Kill Dalinar. Go. And Seth's like, it will be done, and takes off. Like, you guys were predicting that like Seth may show up and kill Taravangian. I feel like on some level we were like a hair away. Like, this could easily have gone the other way.
I'm very disappointed that it didn't.
honestly, after finding out what we find out about Taravangian's plan here, I feel like I would be disappointed if we didn't get to see where this was going.
I mean, sure, but I want Seth to have a win.
That's something that evil people say there, Data.
Let's not see where it's really going. Happening.
The plot to like kill these people. I mean, come on.
And so Androtage's like, oh geez, I thought we were dead. And Taravangian's like, yeah, come on. Who is this Surge Binder that he ran into? And Androtage says, well, Yasna's ward, maybe? Because that's where you maybe forget. He knew Shallan, like, personally. She drew a picture of him. And they'd all been surprised when she showed up on the Shattered Plains, which means maybe they have operatives on the Shattered Plains sending them information.
We sort of hypothesized that already, given how much Taravangian seemed to know about what was going on with Dalinar.
True. Good point. And Taravangian's like, no, he said a guy was protecting Dalinar. We need the diagram. Bring it out. And so they set up a tent so he can look through this stuff. And I like Moral's out here telling him, he's like, you know, the king, you've heard how like caring and sensitive he is. He's just so overcome by like the tragedy here that he needs a moment to like rest and pray and stuff like that. Taravangian cares while your own Light Eyes sent you to slaughter. Really just milking this opportunity. Did I ever tell you, Adro, what I asked for? He whispers. And she's like, yes, lots of times. Capacity. Capacity to stop what was coming. The capacity to save humankind. So that seems like a laudable goal, right?
Yeah. Stop trying to sugarcoat it. He's evil.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys are like, this guy is so. Look at all the stuff he's doing, but like, he's apparently doing it in the name of saving humankind, which seems worthwhile.
All right, so we're in another conversation, philosophical. It's like, do the ends justify the means?
I mean, yeah, that's basically what it boils down to, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna give a big fat no. Plus, we still don't know what his ends are. He's saying he's saving the world, but from his perspective, the Jedi are evil. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, like how?
So glad you went there, because I was gonna throw that out.
Yeah. That's a fair question, because saving can mean a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah, saving, could mean I'm turning everybody into my slaves. Like he wanted to have them all, when he's super, quote unquote, super smart, he's like, let's all make them take a test before they can breed. Let's make them all my slaves, like mind slaves. Like, it's not good.
I think later in the chapter it mentions like when he was smart one day, he was like, everyone who's dumb should have to commit suicide for the best.
Exactly.
For the greater good.
If you're not smart enough, you gotta die. It's just the way it is.
I don't know what to tell you.
For the greater good.
And he's like, it's one of my favorite bits because he's like, he knew that there would be like pushback, but he thought that he could convince him with his eloquent words.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. It's fine. They're not smart enough.
Fly, my lemmings, fly.
And so he goes over the diagram. He's not, once again, he's just average today, so it's hard for him. But he found it on a reproduction of one corner of his room where he had written in tiny script sentences over the top of one another because he'd run out of space. In the clarity of genius, the sentences had looked easy to separate, but it had taken his scholars years to piece together what they said. They will come. You cannot stop their oaths. Look for those who survive when they should not. That pattern will be your clue. And that is enough for him to make a connection. He goes, the Bridgeman. The Bridgeman that Dalinar took from Sadeas. Did you read the account of their survival? And she's like, no, I didn't think that was important. Wake every Alethi sleeper we have. Send every agent in the area. There will be stories told of one of those Bridgemen. Miraculous survival, favored of the winds. One is among them.
Oh, yeah. He's favored, all right.
Oh, I mean,
not anymore.
It is a good connection that he makes. Favored of the winds, he's almost saying Stormblessed.
Yeah, and again, like, how even in his genius mind did he know? Like, I don't understand.
Well, how he knew that they would come and you can't stop their oaths, that's an interesting question. But I feel like the second half of it, look for those who survive when they should not, that's a pretty logical outgrowth of that.
Sure, I guess.
And assuming that if somebody shows these kind of supernatural abilities, that people are going to notice and people will start talking about them, that's also, I think, pretty logical. So he's like, we got to find this guy. He might not even know what he's doing yet, but he's bonded a Spren and sworn at least the first ideal. And Adrotage is like, okay, if we find him, then we keep him away from Seth at all costs. Our lives depend on it. Seth is a beast who gnaws at his leg to escape his bonds. If he gets free, And then they have to hurry because the High Prince is dying, and we need to go and take care of this.
Yeah.
And we get into what's left of the city. Or no, I'm sorry, actually, it's a ring of wagons that flew an optimistic flag, that of the King of Yakaved. They found High Prince Valum, or King Valum now, in bed coughing. So if you'll remember, this is the High Prince over Shalon's land, where her family lives. So her side won, I guess. Yay. And this guy is injured. He's coughing. He's lying in bed, coughing up blood. He's like, Taravangian, you've come for my kingdom, have you? I don't know what you mean, your majesty. Don't play coy. I can't stand it in women or in rivals. I don't know what they'll make of you. I think they'll have you assassinated by the end of the week. Clever ploy, sending that food, those healers. The soldiers love you. And the only one of his kids to survive is a person that we've met before, who has eyes of two different colors, one light, one dark. High Prince Valum's bastard son.
Yep, he made quite the statement in Shalon's house that one day.
Yep. And he turns back to Taravangian. Turns out you have a legitimate claim on the throne. Through your mother's side, I think. Something about a Vedden princess 3 generations back. And Taravangian's like, oh, I wasn't aware of that. Didn't you hear me about being coy? We both have a role to play in this production, your majesty. I'm merely speaking the lines as they were written. And so Valum at least has spotted the plan, where no one else, as far as we know, has. He's like, in a week or so after you've cared for my people, your scribes will discover your claim on the throne, and you'll reluctantly step in to save the kingdom. And I like Taravangian's like, I see you've read the script. Or had the script read to you, obviously. Men don't read. What Valum doesn't know, he's like, the assassin will come for you. Ironic considering that we just talked to the assassin outside.
He has twice now.
Yeah.
I saw him today. He looked distraught.
I should have introduced you.
Yeah, you guys would have gone along. It'll be great. Taravangian says he very well might, and thinks to himself, I mean, that's the truth, honestly. And Valum's like, I don't even know why I tried for this storming throne. At least I'll die as a king. And then he gestures to the scribes outside the room. And he goes, I'm making this idiot my heir. Let the other high princes chew on that. And Taravangian's like, oh, well, they're all dead. Wait, what, all of them? Yeah. Even Borear? Yes. Huh. Bastard. And at first he thinks that he's talking about the dead guy, but no, that's how he addresses his son. And Valum pulls out a knife, gestures to his son, and he's like, through my heart. And Ren's like, Father, no. Through my storming heart. Do it, boy, or can't you do a single thing that... And apparently that's all it takes, because dude slams the knife down.
He's like, all right, I've heard enough.
And then we get a death rattle from the king of Yakaved, short-lived as his kingdom was in this case. So the night will reign, for the choice of honor is life. All right, whatever that means. And Taravangian's just pissed that like he can't write it down. He's gonna have to try to memorize that.
That would look weird. Sorry, let me just take down his last words.
Let me get a pen. Anybody got a pen? Ah, damn.
Especially since men don't know how to write, it would look very weird.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of scribes in the room.
Yeah, tell one of them to do it. Good.
Yeah, he's like, hey, did anybody get
ass.
that down?
Hey,
You're all scribes.
Can you write that down for me? Why? Well, you heard him. I'm king now. Write it down.
Yeah, no question.
Do it.
And the son leaves, and Morale's like, geez, that was mean. And Taravangian says, more than you know, actually. He will now be on record, as official record, as a patricide, which if he ever had an interest in the throne, it'll make it more difficult, even more so than his parentage. So it was well thought out, I guess. Although why the now dead king would care that to make sure that his bastard son couldn't take the throne later, I don't know.
Because he himself was just
the principle of the thing. Yeah, it's the principle of the thing. You know, he's like, not bastard's not going to claim my throne that I had for 5 seconds.
And then Taravangian's like, can I have a minute with the fallen king to pray for him? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're so nice. Really, he just needed a place to sit down and think for a minute.
Yeah.
I'll do it with
He's
the
like,
dead guy, whatever.
I'm gonna eat his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Just like the diagram had instructed, Taravangian was king of Yakaved, taking the first major step towards unifying the world, as Gavilar had insisted would need to happen if they were to survive. And then it turns out that 6 years ago, Gavilar told him about some visions that he was seeing. It came with the storm. Unite them. I'm doing my best, Gavilar. I am sorry that I need to kill your brother. He wished once again this had been a day of brilliance, then he wouldn't have felt so guilty. And that's the end of that. So it's very interesting that apparently Taravangian is working from the same instructions that Dalinar is working from, just kind of secondhand. And they have some very different approaches to get there.
I feel like Taravangian's working on a grander scale. Like Dalinar seems to think unite the High Princes.
Yep.
Gavilar's like unite the world. I mean Taravangian, the other one.
Well, but from what he heard from Gavilar, so yeah.
Yeah. But yes, like the two all they have is unite them, and they've both interpreted that very differently.
Yep. And honestly, what Taravangian has managed to accomplish is kind of impressive. It's like cold as ice. But
that's horrifying, but it's very clever.
So, predicaments. For next time, we're going to read 4 more chapters, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Including the epilogue, we have 15 more chapters in this book. So we're 85% of the way through. So about 1% per chapter. Anyway, we're going to do 4 chapters. Yep. 5 episodes left, 15 chapters. Next time we're doing 4 chapters. 76, 77, 78, and 79. And I will give you guys the titles in case you want to use them in your predicaments. 76 is called The Hidden Blade. 77 is called Trust. 78 is called Contradictions. And 79 is called Toward the Center. And as we're starting part 5, I will give you guys the perspective characters also, since that's the very next page. Kaladin, Shallan, Dalinar, Adolin, and Wit. So, predicaments. Where are we going? What's going to happen? We're approaching the end of the book, which means Sanderlanche is kicking off. Things are going to start getting nuts. What do you guys think?
I mean, Towards the Center, that sounds like it's a Dalinar chapter, or possibly I guess could be any. It could be any of them aside from Wit, but that's heading towards the center of the Shattered Plains. So that's when they set out.
It sounded like Kaladin was going to not go on the journey because he's all injured and stuff. So maybe it doesn't fit him as well. But
true, but like he might decide to go anyway. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a Kaladin thing to do. Yeah, I don't know. I think most of my predictions from last time still stand, such as they were. The Hidden Blade. I mean, just because it's fresh in my mind, that makes me think of what Taravangian and Seth were talking about with this, missing honor blade.
Yeah, I could see that.
But that could just be because it's fresh in my mind. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm starting to think maybe the thrust of this book is like, they have their epic battle with the Parshendi at the end, and maybe it's like they can, like the Alethi wind up winning and scattering the remnants of the Parshendi again, and then they decide, all right, we're marching home, and then they find Kholinar just a wreck from all these riots, and maybe that's the cruel point of the book. It's like they spent so long neglecting the kingdom for this battle that they come back and there's nothing left.
Oof, yeah.
I don't really have much more to add from my predictions from last time, because like this stuff I predicted, we didn't even really see those characters have much to build on there.
Yeah, this is kind of outside of these three were kind of outside of the normal flow. Yeah.
I do think Seth is going to drop in again on the Shattered Plains before the end of the book. He's like, all right, we'll be done. He's going back. He's going to come for Dalinar, but I think he is going to have another confrontation with Kaladin in some sense. I think I think that'll be like that will be him disobeying his orders, which is huge for Seth. But he's just so driven. He needs to know the truth. So he's back here, and he's like, he is going to find Kaladin and try and get to the bottom of it.
I mean, if he found Kaladin now, it wouldn't really answer him any questions.
No, but Seth doesn't know that.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. That would be bad for Kaladin with no powers, and here comes the assassin. Yeah.
But Seth, yes, I get the feeling if Seth confronted Kaladin now, he wouldn't necessarily go for a killing blow to start with, because he does want the answers. So he would hold Kaladin instead and try and get answers out of him.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Beat him up a little bit. Tell me. Swear to me. Yeah.
Oh, wouldn't it be nice if, like, Moash is there to kill Elhokar, Kaladin's defending Elhokar, like, Moash has a shard blade, and he's about to kill Kaladin so he can go through, and then Seth kills Moash. That would make my day.
You're like, I love Seth, I don't like Moash. Yeah, this will be great.
Yep.
Okay. I like this. This is fun. Also, it's an interesting idea, but now that we've seen how things have gone in Kholinar, it would really suck if they came out here, they won, finally, and then they get home and there's nothing left. Yeah. that would be unfortunate.
That's just the price they pay for their years of doing shit all.
It's true. Yeah. Right, fair enough.
Man, part 5. What could happen? There's so many things that are on the horizon for us. So yeah, Into the Center, I think that's I agree with that. That's got to be them heading out, right? And so I don't think that chapter will have a confrontation between them and the Parshendi. I think that's going to be later on. Hidden Blade, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really couldn't even guess what the meaning is behind that. We've just been told in the interlude that there was, Taravangian said that there's a blade missing, but I feel like that was fake, a ploy. But maybe not. Maybe it's real information, but just not, told to him incorrectly. But we know that Kaladin doesn't have a shard blade.
Yep.
So yeah, that's I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, the thing about a shard blade, right, is that you don't have to summon it, so it would be impossible, I guess, to know for sure that someone didn't have one, except that we found out that they make your eyes light. So
yeah, as evidenced by Shallan, I guess, right? So like Shallan has had one. Now she's already a light eyes, but Shallan's had one all this time. Yeah, and Seth should be able to put that together, right? Like if he had an honor blade, if the honor blades work the same way. Although Seth's
they
eyes
might not,
light,
yeah.
Because Seth's eyes they just say his eyes are blank. They don't say they're necessarily light.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I think that we don't know when he's like got Stormlight and is using his powers. I think it said they glow, but beyond that, I don't think we know like much about what they look like.
Right. Yeah. So that's another thing. It's just like, what do we? Yeah. I don't know. Other than that, what's that last chapter title?
Was Into the Center the last one?
I thought that was the first one.
Oh no, the first one was the Hidden Blade.
Oh, the Hidden Blade. Okay.
And then Trust, Contradictions, and Toward the Center.
Oh, okay. Towards the Center. Trust, Contradictions. Okay. Trust, Contradictions. The Hidden Blade. So that's the first one. Okay. This throws me way off. Trust, Contradictions. I mean, Trust, that's got to be like a Dalinar, Kaladin, everybody else thing, right? Kaladin learning to trust them. They trust Kaladin. What does that trust mean? Moash trust. So that could all be wrapped up in the Moash, Elhokar, Kaladin, Dalinar stuff. Contradictions, again, I think has to do with the honor situation, right? So like Kaladin made 2 promises and he's got to keep one. He can't keep both by way of the fact that he made those promises. So yeah, that I feel like that's going to be what that's about. So
okay.
But yeah, I would have to say that this is all coming to a head. Seth's got to show up. I agree with Dax. Seth's got to show up back up. I think there is going to be another confrontation between Seth and Kaladin. I think that is going to happen. And so maybe they both learn about each other in that sense. And Kaladin, if Kaladin's powers aren't working still, he could be like, look, man, I don't got no powers.
I promise I'm not special.
I'm not
then
special.
I can kill you.
Never have been. Yeah. That's all I got. I mean, we're so close to the end now, but I mean, again, we're close to the end of the second book in a 5-book series that are very long, and I don't know. I still don't know.
You both said that Seth should show up and confront Kaladin again. I agree that feels like it would fit into a climax for this book, right? Like it was at the end of the last book, or close to the end, Taravangian's like, go kill Dalinar. And I think we had some theories, like maybe before the end of the book, he'll get there and do, stuff will happen. So this could be another one of those where it's like, he's been told to go kill Dalinar again, but it takes them a long time to get there. But it would be more satisfying if there was another confrontation between the two of them. I agree.
Yeah.
But yes, like you said, it's 5 books. It's 5 long books. That could be something that gets pushed back somewhere.
Okay. Look, honestly, I don't have a lot either. End of a part is always a bit tricky in terms of what's going to happen. With the chapter names, I'm really not sure. I think obviously we're gearing up to head into the Shattered Plains. We're expecting the Weeping, so we're expecting to not have a high storm. They're going to get caught off guard. There's a lot going on there. I would like to see Kaladin and Seth actually come together again before the end of the book. That would be cool. I would really like to see Kaladin's abilities return. I don't want to believe it's as simple as, no, you done goofed up, Syl's dead now, move on. I would like for that to be able to come back for him maybe it's a test. Like he could give up, or he could do something to restore the honor and be able to bring her back. That would be nice. Whether that would happen in this book or not, I don't know. But I will be very sad if we don't see Phil again. I don't know that we'll find out about it in this book, but there was a comment made in a chapter, and it was possibly in last week's set of chapters. No, it was this week's chapters. Taravangian was talking about Shallan and that she maybe had abilities from her or learned from her brother, which I thought was an interesting comment. I hope we find out more about that. Like, I don't think that's going to be this book, but which brother, and did they absolutely have some abilities? Like we've talked about, was it Halaran being killed on the battlefield and he had a shard blade? So did he have some abilities inherited like from the blade? Did he have one of these honor blades, or did he have abilities and also a shard blade? Like there's a lot to learn about this guy. So I hope we go into more of that. I don't think that's going to come to fruition in this book, but hopefully soon would be nice to learn more about Shallan. And I don't know, maybe these abilities are inherited through families, and if one child's got it, the other child's got it. That could be cool to explore as well. But yeah, lots of thoughts rather than predictions this week from me.
Fair.
I love this point of the book where things start to happen really quickly, and I just my brain capacity is reduced at the moment to sort through all the information. So hopefully next week I will have some more wild predictions.
I'm glad that you pointed out, because I totally missed it when we got to that point. But yes, they said they'd hypothesized that Shallan had been trained, if not by Yasna, then by her brother before his death. So as far as we know, only one of her brothers is dead, although we haven't heard the other three in a while. So what does that mean for what did Halaran have going on?
He seems like quite the mystery.
Also, it's a really interesting idea that there could be like a genetic component here where if Halaran has powers and then Shallan gets powers, does that mean that the other three brothers, who you guys have not been huge fans of because they're kind of messed up, are they going to end up with powers too?
Well, we don't know. I think that's, we don't know how the Radiance became the Radiance, and what qualifies a person over another person. Is it a particular trait, or we don't even know if they were a similar or the same order of Radiant. Is it just random? Like there's 5 of them. Chances are you might have 1 or 2, but what is the percentage of the population that could end up having Radiant abilities? Also, that was a while ago, so they've been around for a while then, or trying to come back for a while.
We found out last time that the last flashback we had of her killing her father was a year before this. And Halaran apparently died around the same time because her father goes, you can't find him because he got killed. So I guess that part isn't that long ago.
No, but if Taravangian's talking about the fact that he might have trained her, then he wasn't just getting his abilities at that time. And Yasna seemed to be pretty well versed in her abilities as well. So we could be going back a couple of years.
If Halaran didn't have, like, if he didn't have just radiant powers, well, let's say he did have radiant powers. How did he get his blade? Because we don't even know how Shallan has her blade, and Kaladin doesn't have a blade.
True. Yeah.
If it's an honor blade, then that means Amaram now has an honor blade.
And he might not even know it. That's a whole thing
too. Well, I don't know. You'd probably figure it out, kind of like Kaladin figured it out. Like, he knows. I feel like he knows enough about these blades to have at least tested that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Would Amaram and Shallan have the honor blades?
There's a big question about Halaran in particular, and we've touched on it several times in the past. And you guys have theorized maybe he was working for the Ghostbloods because Amaram thinks that it was a Ghostblood attempt to kill him, but maybe not. There's other secret societies hanging around. Maybe somebody out there is handing out shard blades to people. But
boy, are there.
Oh yeah, it's just that one line opens up so many more questions about what was going on with Halaran. Because before then it was just like, he said he had new friends. They gave him the shard blade. Mm-hmm. He goes out and tries to kill Amaram and gets killed. It's a little mysterious, but it's not. There's more mysterious shit happening. And then you get that, like, wait, he had powers? From where? How? When? Why? Yeah. And not only that, but Taravangian knows and knew that this guy had powers. Like, when he met Shallan, did he already know this?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, he's
he was
sneakier.
enough of a player for Taravangian to know.
Yeah.
I guess a shard bearer would probably attract attention anyway.
And also, to add to what you were saying, we know from the flashback at the beginning of this one, when we got Yasna's perspective of the night her father died, that she was sort of just falling into her powers, meeting this Spren or whatever, 6 years before the current day. So she's definitely, it was going on at least that far back.
Yeah. Okay.
There could be a lot of them out there by now. Although we also know that a certain mysterious somebody is out there, like, killing people, developing those powers.
Yes.
We've seen that guy a couple times. So I guess he didn't find out about Yasna because we never saw him go after her. Maybe she's just better at keeping this shit a secret. She has, like, the soul casting powers, but she, like, got a fake soul caster as an excuse. Like, no, yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes it look real.
Yeah. And, 2 separate times Taravangian watched Yasna. Like, he requested Yasna to use her power.
Mm-hmm.
Did he know that she was a Radiant at that time? Because if so, he's just confirming, like, oh yeah, she didn't even use that soulcaster. She just did it.
Maybe he suspected, and that was the whole point, was to figure it out.
And he may have suspected Shallan as well, because he asked her to draw that picture, and he's like, oh man, that's remarkable.
Yeah, when we thought it was just, like, nice guy king, it made sense that he's like, oh, I've heard about you drawing other people's pictures. Will you draw mine? Now it's there may be a whole other, like, more sinister aspect to it. But actually, if you're right that he intentionally created the situation to, like, get Yasna's, have Yasna come and use her power so he could check it out, it's actually super messed up, because the situation was his granddaughter was trapped and, like, dying behind this giant boulder.
Yeah, well, that doesn't just happen. That doesn't just happen. I mean, come on.
He put the boulder there.
With his granddaughter behind it? That's fucked up.
If he knew, and if he knew that because here's the thing: either she has a soul caster and she can use it, or she doesn't have a soul caster and she has the powers. Either way, his granddaughter should be saved.
Yeah, okay.
Plus, if that's on a really, really smart day for him, he's less and less compassionate. He's like, I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Also potentially true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, good call out on some of that, Jamie. You're like, I don't have predictions. I just have these ideas, but these are some very good ideas and things that you brought up.
Thanks.
All right. We'll move into our final stuff here. Let's do a couple more emails today. We're running kind of long, so we'll do like 2 or so. But our next new email is from Leslie. Leslie says, heard your invite to send puppy pictures. I just listened to episode 118 in Bands of Mourning and heard your invitation to share puppy photos. I attached a few photos of my mini Aussie and my blackmouth cur. Not quite puppies anymore, but I still think they're adorable. Enjoy. Anyway, I started listening about halfway through September this year while rereading the original Mistborn trilogy. I don't have any strong position on Spook one way or the other, but I find High Imperial absolutely hilarious. I can't help but picture all the street kids who spoke it trying to teach it to a room full of nobles and politicians. I did try and keep pace with the podcast during Hero of Ages and made it through the first episode. Then I binged the audiobook in 3 days. I am a newbie to the Cosmere outside of Scadrial, and am enjoying this guided tour immensely. The only other series of Sandersons I've finished is The Reckoners. I hope this series is on the schedule so we can all hear wild theories, buzzing to the time of next. Colo. Yeah, I mean, I do have eventually that we would get to The Reckoners, but since it's not Cosmere, that is, like, way out there. But I will share with you guys the pictures of puppies that she sent. Because who doesn't need that? Picture 1, 2, 3, and 4. There you go. Have some puppies.
Aww.
And then she wrote, like, a follow-up email. I just realized that I didn't include my volcano theory in the last email. You guys mentioned that no one knows what Adonalsium was. My theory is that the guy Hoyd called an old reptile is a shape-shifting dragon that is part of a race that passes the title of Adonalsium to each new leader along with all the shards. Hoyd might be helping his shapeshifter friend collect all the shards to restore his friend's title as of Adonalsium or take it for himself. So Joe's space dragon theory, Leslie's is right there with you.
Space dragon. I mean, come on. Dragon steel, space dragon. I mean, there's dragon.
I don't have much proof for this, as I haven't read many Cosmere books outside of what's on this podcast. My only real evidence is the one line from Hoyd, and the name of Brandon's company is called Dragon Steel Entertainment. Yeah. Steel seems pretty important so far. 2 main characters specialize in steel pushing.
Sorry to interrupt, but I also want to point out, who did he tap to finish his books if he died? The guy who wrote the Dragon books. It's all coming together.
There were 2 main characters who specialize in steel pushing. Maybe dragons will be important later. Who knows? Anyway, I can't wait to see if I'm way off or not. Listening to the time of next Kodo. So good theories, Leslie. I like it.
I'm intrigued by this theory. Like, what do we call him? Frost, like Frost, the old reptile. Given what we were talking about last time, where he's like, oh yeah, I've got this vow of non-interference. If he actually is ad analceum, and it's like, I'm not interfering with the people who stole all my shit. Like that's a hell of a line to take.
That would be, right? Yeah. Maybe if ad analceum was still around, maybe that the one part that ad analceum got to keep was the mind my own business shard. Nobody wanted that one. We got another email from Disco Anxiety, who I believe we read one from last time, but this was in their perspective like a month later. It's just that we're just not getting around to reading it. Hello. Well, yeah, I've read through all the Cosmere, but I don't really research any more than that online. You guys sound like a way better place for theories, though. I just listened to the episode where you go through Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell. Am I crazy, or is the withering effect the same as when you get cut by a shard blade? And I just remembered Dalinar's vision where they are attacked by red-eyed monsters. Aren't they the same monsters we saw at the end of The Lost Metal? I will say that no, I don't think that the weird black monstery gooey thingy dog things were the same as in The Lost Metal. But I don't remember the details. But but the withering thing, maybe there's a similarity to getting cut by a shard blade. I'd honestly have to go back and read the description of that better. Might be a really good point you're making. I don't know. Now I have to look. Also, I left off one bit when we were last week. We read Disco Anxiety's email, and it was the one that asked like, "Do you cry?" or whatever. I missed the PS on that one, so while we're back on a Disco Anxiety email, I'll go back. They said, "How many listeners do you have from Poland?" So they're from Poland. That is an excellent question, and I will answer your question right now by looking at our podcast. This is going to be thrown off though because we haven't had a new episode go up in like a month at this point. But the episode we recorded last week will go up a couple days from now in our time. But we haven't had a new one go up for a while, so the statistics may be a little bit off. In the last 3 months, it says Poland's like 13th place or something in our list of top countries. 0.77% of our total viewers, or our total downloads rather, 301 downloads in the past 3 months came from Poland, according to Podbean. So neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What do we got? United States was the top, no shocker there. Germany number 2, Canada, UK, then Australia, then India, and then the Netherlands. So that's interesting.
Never would have picked Germany number 2. There you go.
Yeah, right. And like I said, this is the last 3 months, but for one of those months we haven't had any new episodes, so that might skew things. I had to bring up Australia specifically to look at the breakdown. We've had Australian Capital Territory. We got 16 in that 3-month period. New South Wales is the big one.
Is that you, Dak?
It's all of them.
Just been listening to the podcast over and over, huh?
I know you normally like pop it on, like in the car or something like that. Like, oh man, occasionally.
Yeah, sometimes I'll pop it on when I'm working from home and I need some noise in the background. Our podcast ain't bad. Plus sometimes
it's fun because you pick up things that you missed, or you're like, oh, that was an idea we thought of, and
I've forgotten. Yeah,
it has happened occasionally. It's like I'll hear something in whatever episode I'm listening to, and then I'll remember that for like when we're recording. I'm like, hang on a minute, that was this. So it does help.
I guess that's true. Maybe I should listen to our podcast. I don't.
There's been a couple times when I'm in the car and I'm like, I start thinking about something and I'm like, when did we say that? I'll put on an episode and like listen back to, is this where we said this one particular thing? And then one time I was picking up the kids from school and one of the kids got in the car and they hear and they're like, seriously, you're listening to yourself? I'm like, well, no.
It's a whole thing.
The only Australian territory still no downloads from is Northern Territory. We need one person out there to start listening to the show. just to even things out.
So if you're in the Northern Territory and you're somehow hearing this because you don't download the podcast, download the podcast.
Oh, man. Our top state in the U.S. for this 3 months, Texas. And then California, and then New York, like the most populated 3 states, I think. So that kind of makes logical sense.
And, people know it. Some people know us here in our own home state.
It's true. All right, that's enough statistics. Thank you, Disco Anxiety, for providing me the opportunity to go back into those. That's always fun. So if you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Blue Sky and Instagram and Facebook and Patreon, where my reactions to reading Wind and Truth for the first time are still going up. I need to edit some more of those, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But there's one coming up on Tuesday, at least, that I've already got uploaded. So I know there will be something going out this week. But check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. And if you join our Patreon, Joe will give you a faring power. Since, he has the magical powers to just hand those out to people. 100% guaranteed to really work. This is not a guarantee.
It's in my contract. For the show.
So thank you, everybody. Patrons, you're awesome. We love you. Thank you, emailers. Thank you, everybody out there who's just downloading or listening to these episodes every week. We're back now, recording episodes again. So hopefully people are happy about this. Yeah. We appreciate you all. You're awesome. Remember, if you're following along, we're doing 4 chapters for next time. The last time this book, we're going to do that many chapters in a go. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crabs ahoy!
Amnesia, you forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. You're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.